Hey guys, welcome to our first ever vlog. My name is Catherine and I'm one of the people and culture enthusiasts at Corporate Challenge events. So to kick things off for our first ever vlog, we wanted to look at 10 signs your workplace culture is toxic and how to fix it. Because don't worry if you are watching this and thinking, yikes, some of these things apply to me and my workplace. Don't worry, you aren't doomed. This isn't the end of the world. And in fact, it's actually incredibly easy to fix most of these challenges that come up. So we're going to walk you through it. Firstly, though, I think it is really important to acknowledge that with everything that is going on in the world right now, the workplace may look very different to what we're used to. If you're anything like our team, you are currently all working from home. Maybe you have started to transition back into the office or the traditional workspace. Whatever your current situation is, taking care of your workplace culture is still super important, and we cannot stress that enough. So let's get started. The first toxic trait we're going to look at is that your company core values do not serve as the basis for how the organization functions. So this one is surprisingly common, especially in the current world that we find ourselves in. A lot of businesses have had to reassess where they stand in the market, even going as far as, adding new products or changing their services to survive the COVID pandemic. But luckily, this one is super easy to fix. It could be, honestly, as simple as sitting down with your team and discussing your company core values. See if they still match in with your organization and where the direction that you're heading in. If you're looking for something a little more structured, you could look at something like a Find Your Why workshop, which is based on Simon Sinek's Find Your Why concept, to sort of, dig deeper and get more out of that, and really clearly define your company's direction. Toxic trait number 2. Employee suggestions are discarded. So this is seen to be toxic because it ultimately makes your team feel like their opinion doesn't matter, and basically there is no point in sharing their thoughts or opinions because it's just going to get shut down. It also means that people will be afraid to give honest feedback, which will ultimately harm your organization, not only from an ideas generation perspective, but also a culture perspective. The solution here, again, really quite simple, and it's just to listen. Whether that is talking to your team one-on-one or having a weekly group discussion, or even an anonymous ideas box, I think there's one of those at my gym. Or even a combination of all of these. Ultimately, you know your team better than I do, and you'll know what will resonate with them and what they're going to respond to the most. Toxic trait number 3, micromanaging. So I think we've possibly all been micromanaged at some point in our careers, and I think we can all agree it's no fun. That feeling of having absolutely no autonomy to do your job, can be very, very frustrating and ultimately lead to quite an uncomfortable workplace culture. And while it often can come from a place of good intentions, it is important to feel supported and trusted in our positions. So our suggestion to get around this is, if you feel you are being micromanaged, just have an open and honest conversation with your manager. Make sure that they understand how you're feeling. They, like I said, might not even know that they are doing it. Alternatively, if you're on the other side of it and you fear you might be guilty of micromanaging, consciously make an effort to step back once you've given an employee a task. Trust your team will come to you if they require assistance or have any questions. If you create that relationship, they're going to come to you for help. Toxic trait number 4, blaming and punishment from management is the norm. So, as we all know, an environment that is high in conflict, blame, and punishment, it's uncomfortable in any situation, let alone the workplace. So it can make people scared to make decisions and take on leadership roles in projects, which ultimately is going to lead to lower job satisfaction because you're not going to feel like you're progressing, which leads to a whole other heap of issues. So overcoming this one is a little trickier, but again, comes back to that open communication and feeling comfortable in your positions and tasks. At the end of the day, people are going to make mistakes. We all do it. We're all human. There's going to be projects that fail and don't quite hit the mark. Not every day is going to be a huge success. And it is so important to remember this when approaching any sort of review of a project or a performance, from a management perspective, but also from a self perspective as well. We're all human, basically. Toxic trait number 5. So, excessive absenteeism, illness, and high employee turnover. If it feels like most of your employees are actually ghosts, because they're never there, no, you haven't been ghosted, but it may be due to a toxic workplace environment. A poor workplace culture will make employees feel unmotivated and, quite frankly, just not want to be there. The answer to avoiding this toxic quality is pretty simple. Incorporate some fun and play into the workplace, whether that's via something super simple like, social after work drinks, some quick games to play with the team, break up the workday, or if you want something a little bit more structured like a facilitated team building program, either way, breaking up the standard work week with some fun activities, it goes a long, long way to make your team, actually want to be there and create some excitement and something to look forward to, outside of your normal work routine. Toxic trait number 6. So, overworking is a badge of honor and it's expected. We all know that one person that seems to always be the first one into the office and is still around long after everyone else has gone home. So, maybe we're a bit guilty of being that person ourselves. I definitely have done it on occasion. Either way, it is very, very easy to fall into the trap of working overtime, especially when no one usually asks us to do it and there probably really isn't a need. So this creates a toxic workplace ultimately because not only are you working yourself into the ground and you will burn out, you are also on the path to become resentful of your employee, of your workplace, your colleagues who aren't putting in the overtime like you are. Now, as simple as it would be for me to say, the solution is to, just, stop. I know it isn't that easy. Instead approach this by creating a supportive workplace that encourages team members to reach out and ask for assistance from their team. If they think the workload is too much, get others involved, delegate what you can. Also discourage team members from working overtime, and if they do it, make them keep a log, record their hours somewhere so that, later they can finish a few hours early. Just to keep it balanced, try to create as much work-life balance in that as possible. Toxic trait number 7 is little or strained interaction between employees and management. So at the end of the day, we are social creatures and we thrive with building relationships. As managers, it is very easy to become removed from our employees which it may not be intentional. It can create a toxic workplace environment and it can be interpreted as management not caring about their employees. Now, I'm not saying that you need to spend hours every day interacting with your employees. I understand that as managers, you're busy, your team's busy, there's certain things that need to be done, so that the business runs smoothly. However, it doesn't have to be something big to show that you care. It could be as simple as a weekly email to your team, giving them an update on what's happening in the company. Or just paying attention to important milestones in your team's lives, birthdays, work anniversaries, acknowledging a job well done on a certain project. A little bit, it goes a long way. Toxic trait number 8, gossiping and or social cliques. So don't get me wrong, we all love a bit of gossip as much as the next person, and it's important that we all have our work besties, and we make work days fun. But although this may sound out innocent enough, it can lead to a toxic workplace culture. So, this could be because gossip could be seen as malicious or cruel, and cliques could form, making some team members feel excluded and isolated, leading to withdrawn and disinterested behaviour, which, ultimately is going to impact the team as a whole. Although it sounds quite nasty, our suggestion solutions here are quite simple and easy to implement. Try mixing your team up, allowing them to get to know each other team members that, maybe they usually wouldn't interact with. This could be through a fun office activity or game, such as, office bingo, creating a buddy system, just like in school, that allows team members to get out and, of their usual circles and sort of meet someone new. It could also lead to a range of super exciting ideas for your business by putting different groups of people together. Toxic trait number 9. So, favoritism and office politics. So, favoritism and office politics, although again, often completely unintentional, it is quite a dangerous thing. Even if it isn't seen that way to you, it could easily be perceived as hurtful to others in your team, which, can lead to them withdrawing or adopting a, why bother trying sort of an attitude. And believe it or not, our attitudes are quite contagious, and ultimately that's going to have a huge impact on your workplace culture. Overcoming this one, it's all about trying to treat your team as equals where possible. So, show encouragement and praise where needed, of course, but, if one team member is really taking off, that's great. Make sure you still, encourage that and reward them for that, but, still spend time with your other employees, encouraging your other team members, so they don't feel completely left behind and, left out. As for office politics, just try to keep communications as clear as possible. Toxic trait number 10, aggressive or bullying behaviour. In life in general, this one is a big no-no, and quite frankly, it's not okay on any level. I think everybody should know that. And really, I don't think it requires any further explanation as to why it would create a toxic workplace and culture. If you feel bullied or threatened by aggressive behaviour, it is important that you bring it to your manager. Let them know immediately. The biggest thing to remember here is that behaviour is not okay, and that you're not alone, and you don't need to be quiet about it. Make sure you're talking to the right people to sort of, make sure that it's heard and that it's addressed. Again, it could be totally misinterpreted. They might not realise they're doing it, but it's important that you draw attention to it straight away so that you can work together to come up with an appropriate solution to the issue. So there you have it. 10 signs that your workplace culture may be headed down a toxic path. Now, the most important thing to remember here is no workplace is perfect. At some point or another, all workplaces will have showed at least one of these signs, if not more, and I would put money on it. That's how confident I am that everyone has experienced this to some degree. The important thing is that you identify these behaviours and make an adjustment to address them. After all, a positive team culture definitely isn't built overnight. It takes a lot of commitment and hard work from your whole team. But I promise you, it is possible, and it most definitely is worth it. And if you still want a little extra help, we've created a super easy to use checklist which you can use to assess your workplace culture. Again, we'll put a download link for you. But that is it. Thank you for joining us for our first ever vlog. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you again next time.